Good evening, everybody, and welcome. My name is Zubi, pronouns he, him, and I run events here at the Strand. Before we launch into discussion of Nabella Noor's debut picture book, Beautifully Me, I'd like to share a little bit of history about the Strand. The Strand was founded in 1927 by Benjamin Bass over on 4th Avenue's Book Row. Stretching from Union Square to Astor Place, Book Row gradually dwindled from 48 bookstores until, after over 94 years, the Strand is a sole survivor, now run by third-generation owner Nancy Bass Wyden. We want to thank all of you for your support. Without our loyal community of book lovers and authors like Nabella, we wouldn't be here today, and we are so truly appreciative of all of you. Tonight, we are thrilled to have with us Nabella Noor for the launch of her debut picture book, Beautifully Me. Nabella is a first-generation Bangladeshi American creator, activist, and entrepreneur. As a self-love advocate, Nabella utilizes her platform to empower and inspire millions of people around the world to love the skin they're in. Her work centers around her passion for representation and diversity with a commitment to uplifting stories and characters who are often unseen and underrepresented. Globally recognized for her Pockets of Peace content, you can learn more about the power of self-love through self-care on Nabella's TikTok and Instagram at Nabella. Facilitating tonight's conversation with Nabella is Strand's events coordinator, Abi Ayala Akendo. And so, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Nabella and Abi to the stage.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
First of all, congratulations. Debut author. Like, how does it feel?
It's still sinking in. Debut author still feels like a dream, and I am just on clouds today. I've been on clouds for the last week and a half since I announced my pregnancy, so I think I'm just still looking for my footing. I'm so thankful for every moment.
Yeah, we were talking earlier behind the scenes that it's a good week to be Nabella Noor. So congratulations on everything. Just amazing work that you're doing with this book, with your brand, your activism, definitely with your pregnancy. So I believe you're gonna read to us just a few segments of the book, just so as well the audience members who aren't familiar with Beautifully Me to just get a sense of it.
Yes,
Yep.
I would love to. Okay, great. So this is my book, Beautifully Me. I am so excited to introduce you guys to Zoobee and the Chaudhary family and her kitten Wolfie. And I hope you guys love this experience together because I am still, again, on clouds. And now that it's in my hands and I can read the words to you, it feels surreal. So let's jump in. Okay, I'm getting my reading posture up. All right. Beautifully Me. Written by me. Salam. My name is Zubi Chaudhary. Yesterday, I woke up before the sun. I knew it was going to be a special day. It was my first day of school. I put on my blue overalls and pink shirt with the fancy puffy sleeves. Amma had it made just for me in Bangladesh. I twisted my hair into 2 pigtails with my lucky butterfly clips and slid on my bangles. I ran to my parents' room to show them my first day outfit. Baba was helping Amma wrap her yellow sari around her body. She looked so beautiful, like sunshine and mango lassis. Oof, Amma said, look at this tummy. I'm getting too big. Why was Amma so sad? Good morning, Dadima. Shubho shakal, Zubi, Dadima corrected. Remember to practice your Bangla. My big sister Naya buzzed into the kitchen like a busy bee. Can I have oatmeal instead, Dadima? Oatmeal? Naya hates oatmeal. Why don't you want the parathas I made for you? Dadima asked. My tummy cheered as I smelled the flaky, buttery bread in front of me. How could she say no to parathas? Naya shrugged. I'm on a diet. I want to lose weight so I can look pretty in time for the school dance. Naya is the most beautiful person I know. She is funny and smart and as sweet as laddus. That's my favorite dessert. Why would she say she's not pretty? I want to look good for my first day of school. Should I go on a diet too? Baba popped his head into the kitchen and jingled his keys. Girls, let's get going. Why haven't you worn the shirt I bought for you for Eid? Dadima asked Baba. Baba laughed and patted his belly. I put on some pounds, Ma. I'm up to a large now. Not good. Why was a large not good? I grabbed my backpack, gave my kitten Gulfi a big kiss, and rushed out the door. My teacher is amazing. We did crafts, learned new songs, and took a tour of the library, all before lunchtime. I even made a new friend. Her name is Karima. At recess, some kids hop like bunnies. Some kids run faster than race cars. Some kids climb all the way to the sun. Alex, you look fat in that dress. Alex looks beautiful in their silk dress. It shines like the sun. But Kennedy doesn't sound like she's giving a compliment. Why is looking fat bad? Do I look fat in my overalls? When we got home from school, Amma was waiting for me. How was your first day, Zoobee? I thought about what happened during recess. It was fine. Amma spent the rest of the afternoon cooking. Babima helped by chopping onions and vegetables. The house smelled delicious. When we sat down for dinner, I was so excited to eat the khabar. No rice for me, thanks, Amma, Naya said. No rice? Naya loves rice. Oh yeah, I forgot. Naya was on a diet.
Amazing. I don't know if there's any like audiobooks for children's book, but you should definitely do an audiobook for this book. Like just the way, yes, of course. The way you just enacted each character and the pronunciation of words, I feel it's very important also.
So that would be a dream.
Amazing. So I thought we would start off just asking you overall, like what was the inspiration behind Beautifully Me?
So I honestly, there's so many different ways in which I was inspired to create Beautifully Me. First and foremost, Beautifully Me, a lot of the situations that happened in the book are inspired by real life stories, real life incidents in my childhood that were left unresolved. And the resolution I'm able to find as an author at the end of the book. And I'm able to tell younger Nabila what she needed to hear in those instances through the climax of this book. So that's really what was really special. But I mean, my mother used to ask my father all the time, does this make me look fat? This makes my stomach look big. And I'd wonder, like, what's wrong with that? My older sister, whom I idolized my entire childhood and still do, she also battled with so many different types of diets and all the different fads in order to, as she was grappling with her own self-image. And that impacted me because I would watch her go through diet after diet after diet. And I think that the sun shines from her, right? So I'm just like, you're perfect as you are. And when you see these things, you start to internalize it. You start to, that's how your world is just wrapped around the definitions and the words and the self-images that others have around you that you love and you admire. You internalize it. So when people are saying things about their bodies and you're a young, impressionable kid, that impacts how you view your own body. So much of what this book has happened in real life. From the Amma story to Naya, which is my older sister in this case. And then there was obviously newer things that I put in that I think are so important that are inspired from different incidents growing up. But I think that it's really just the book that I had always dreamt of. I didn't have a main character like this growing up, you know, and the main characters that I did love, the series that I loved, I couldn't necessarily relate to. So this was definitely something that was a long time coming for me.
So obviously this story is targeted towards children, but I feel like obviously reading through it, I felt like I learned a lot through it. Do you feel like in the future, maybe you are interested in telling these stories but in a young adult setting or like a memoir for adults?
Absolutely. I think it was definitely a curveball and more unexpected that I did something for children. But that was really the intention, is that I had spent my career talking to young adults, to teenagers, and to adults about how to unlearn
Mhm.
harmful beauty standards, how to unlearn all of that conditioning that we've had about, what beauty really is. And I just thought to myself, what if we talked straight to the trunk?
Yeah.
Rather than helping someone unlearn, which I love doing. Imagine I helped someone learn right the first time, learn the right message about how they can define beauty for themselves the first time, so that they don't have to grow up having to uncondition anything, because they've kind of grown up with a confident trunk of a self-image. And I wanted to help in cultivating that. So that's why I went straight to children and created this book. But of course, naturally, I'd love to do something for young adults and adults as well.
That'd be awesome. So I also wanted to briefly talk about the beautiful illustrations of this book.
Yes.
I know the illustrator's name is Nabi H. Halis.
Yes.
What gravitated you towards their work?
So Nabi is such an incredible artist. I love his work, and I love what he stands for as an artist. And he's Tamil American, and I am Bangladeshi American. So to have two South Asians come together to create this book felt so right. But the moment I laid eyes on Nabi's art, I knew that he was the one for this book. The way he creates imagery that has a feeling attached to it and can flash you back to just different moments in your life is truly magical. And so when I saw his work, I knew Nabi's my person. And it's so funny because Nabi and Nabela, really kind of cute. But it ended up being just the most beautiful marriage, and he just got it when it came to what I wanted for Zubi's colorful, vibrant world. And the way he works with color is so beautiful. And the way he does drapery with saris and hijabs and like these fabrics and textiles, how he can capture it is just, you just can't find it. I just feel so lucky. And he was my first choice, and I ended up being able to get him. So happy.
Amazing. I was going to mention that one of the first things that stood out about the artwork was just the vibrant colors in it. Like I've like this story, like obviously it's a bedtime type of story that you could read to a child like in 10 minutes. I spent almost 20 minutes looking just because I was admiring the artwork. It's just amazing.
I mean, and the color choices truly was all Nabi. Like I would never have thought to do a green house, and then when I saw that the house was like had this green base to it, I was just mesmerized. And so one of the cool things about picture books is just the collaboration. It truly is not possible without this beautiful partnership between the artist and the author. So that was really fun to develop.
But also, it gives a higher meaning to the story you're trying to tell. And definitely the collaboration, definitely beautiful.
Yes, I agree.
So I want to talk a little bit about Zoobee and the many children she represents. And I know you mentioned earlier that it is fundamental to foster early on just this idea of self-love and just children being happy with who they are, the color of their skin, no matter what size, their gender. So growing up, like how was that for you? Like I know you mentioned you weren't really exposed to all these alternate perspectives, but how did it affect you growing up?
Well, I grew up in a very conservative white town. I still live in a town where it's predominantly white. And in that, through that experience, I really believed that I was weird and that I was not beautiful, right? And because around me, I didn't feel seen. I felt like the odd one out. And then when I turned on television, I still didn't see me. So, and then I'd read books and I still didn't see me. And so I never I hate to say it, but I never was empowered to even believe that I could be beautiful. And that was what stung throughout my childhood leading to my teenage life and then to my young adulthood, is just, where is there a story about a Bangladeshi person, a plus size brown girl, who is not the butt of a joke, who can be celebrated, who loves her skin, loves who she is, loves her body. And where are stories like mine? And because I didn't see it, I just knew I needed to make it. And already day one of the launch of this book, and I'm learning that there's so many other people that really felt that need and that void. And I do believe that when you do not see yourself represented in the world around you, you struggle to see your self-worth.
Yes.
You struggle to see how much you matter. You struggle to see how beautiful you truly are. And it was only until I discovered the internet and started making content online that I discovered my individual beauty, because I learned that there were so many more people like me, and it made me feel like I belonged, and it made me feel beautiful. And so this book is for kids who, just need to know and be reminded of their individual beauty. And I hope that answered your question. I think
No, definitely. I do feel like it's so vital to try to get that sort of mindset as early as possible, because your childhood years are ultimately so fundamental in how you see the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is so crucial to get that messaging early on.
I wonder, what my life would have been like had I had more role models
Mm-hmm.
that resembled me. I wonder what my life would have been like had I seen main characters that had stories like mine. I just wonder how that would have impacted my self-confidence. And I hope that this helps change the trajectory for some children growing up.
No, you're definitely setting the status quo to a new trend, which definitely will empower so many children in the future. So again, amazing. I also wanted to talk about towards the end of the book, and I don't want to reveal too much, but I do know that Zubi's parents, they teach her about the meaning behind her name,
Mm-hmm.
and the power that has in her, taking a new perspective, taking a new attitude. And I just wanted to go back into your personal experiences. And obviously, like, my full name is Abimael. Like, I remember first day of school, last name A, so I was always the first one to be called. I would dread that moment.
Yep.
I'm like, they're gonna butcher my name.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna look at me weird. So the fact that you gave most of your characters non-traditional English names, that really resonated with me. So I just wanted to ask you, did you ever struggle with your name?
Yeah. So again, I grew up in a very conservative white town, and as a young girl, I made a subconscious decision. This wasn't something that I knew that I was going to do, and as I was doing it, I didn't realize I was making some sort of statement. But when I was younger, and teachers would say Nebula, I remember saying, just call me Nabella.
Oh my God, same. I tell people to this day, to call me Abi.
Yeah.
This is easier.
Yeah. And there's some people have their opinions about that. They want you to correct everyone. And listen, that is your individual prerogative. I think for me, even when I did correct growing up, as they would attempt to say Nabila, they'd still naturally butcher it.
Yeah.
And so for me, what I ended up doing and how I took autonomy and how I took my name and I think took ownership of my name and really celebrated it in different contexts was, if I felt like I was in a non-cultural setting where I was around people who could potentially pronounce it, I'd say, call me Nabella. And then if you can pronounce Nabila, if you are South Asian or you're familiar with, pronouncing my name or like mine, say Nabila. Yeah. And then there's another way to pronounce my name, which is Nabila. So all three are great. I take so much pride in all three. And to me, Nabella is not a way to cheapen my name or to make my name, to simplify it, to accommodate others. Rather, it is my preference in how I want to be addressed to simplify my life, and to make communication easier for me. And I'm proud of young Nabila who made that decision. And I love Nabella. I love Nabella. I love Nabila. And I love Nabila. And I love, Zubi's real name. Her full name is Zubaydah, but she is called Zoobee. And that's her nickname. And, that's another way that she took ownership of her life. And so I resonated with that when I created her. I knew I wanted her name to be Zubaydah, and then I wanted her nickname to be Zoobee.
does empower you. You taking ownership of these different names because no one can then use it against you.
Yeah,
Like that's really the
exactly.
like I struggled for so long and just call me Abby. And that's okay. I love my nickname, but I also love my full name because it has so much history behind it.
Yes, exactly. And those that can appreciate it will, and those that might not,
Hmm.
hey, I'm Abby. What's
Yeah.
up?
I've pestered a few friends to get it right though. I will admit to that.
Good, as you said, it's all your choice, right?
Exactly. So I also wanted to talk about just like specific experiences that maybe you experienced as a child or just that you see today of like how children may experience like, self-doubt in their self. Just
Mm.
like, and how that inspired you with the writing of this book.
I think parents, adults, people with impact on children's lives do not realize the weight of their words and how they talk about themselves impacts how young people interpret and self-define and how they think about themselves. And so I think we're in this age right now where we really need to help children and nurture them in developing strong sense of self and
Hmm.
strong body image, especially as we have the rise of social media apps and so many different messages of what beautiful is. And it's just such a there's so many different messages being fed to children every single day from their family, from television, from their peers, from trends, from apps. And so I think it's so important that we help children develop healthy sense of self-image and how we can really understand the role that we play. And I think that that's downplayed a lot. We don't understand how us calling ourselves fat can make our child think that now is something wrong with me. Or if I say, I need to lose this many pounds or whatever, you're just teaching your children these things and they're listening. It's not, they don't know when to filter out what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that I hope that this book is a gentle reminder to adults of just be careful. You don't know who's listening,
Yeah.
what they're taking from your words.
And also, I do feel that oftentimes children's feelings are invalidated.
Yes.
Like a child could have a nightmare and go running to you
Mm-hmm.
to your room, and you might be annoyed because you have to wake up the next morning at 7 a.m. and it's 4 a.m. But to that child, what they experienced was 100% real.
Real.
So, in any sense, in any format, just validate children's feelings.
Yes. Yes.
Jump in a little bit. I do want to get your insight on like the environment in which a child grows up. And I know you mentioned that obviously you grew up in a very conservative, like white environment.
Yeah.
Did at times, you're first generation Bangladeshi, did you feel like a conflict between your identity as a Bangladeshi, as a first generation, and as an American? Like, did you ever feel the need to have to promote when you were younger? Did you ever feel the need to promote one identity over the other? And if so, how did you overcome that and encompass all three of them?
I think, growing up, I think this is something a lot of people have helped bolster this conversation of this feeling. And I think that this is so shared with first generation kids and beyond. And that is not being blank enough for your community and then not being American enough here in America, right? So I still faced growing up, where are you really from?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
While simultaneously not being enough for my
Yeah.
community when I'd go back to Bangladesh. And so this feeling of like never truly fully belonging. And it was only after I grew up and became an adult and discovered so many other first generation stories that the first generation people got to connect and say, this is what our shared experiences are, which were so special. But growing up, it did create conflict and shame. I think I also struggled with some embarrassment, some inability, especially being from such an underrepresented community.
Yes.
Being from Bangladesh, as opposed to maybe a more popular South Asian country, did impact my lived experience, because as I would try to say I'm from Bangladesh, they would say, "Oh, so you're Indian," and that also that contributed to my struggle, because I never fully was able to fully accept myself. I had to just be like, yeah, okay, yeah, basically, I'd be like, basically, and there was just so many stereotypes attached to me as well growing up. So it was definitely a complicated experience. And now I'm so happy to see first generation adults take so much pride in the duality of their identity. And because of that, they're raising really proud children, really children who are aware of the duality of their identity as well and can celebrate it. And that only happens through shared moments of connection. So that's something that I've been able to overcome throughout my life.
Yeah, especially with language. For
Yeah.
instance, like my first language was Spanish. I grew up in Puerto Rico, which is still part of the U.S., but culturally it's just so vastly different. So
Yes.
when I went to Miami for the first time, it was just like, whoa, what is this?
Wow.
Not understanding like what the classroom was saying. Like I had some English speaking classes on the side, but the main time I was just in this room, just sitting, not understanding.
Wow.
Kids making fun of me because I couldn't understand.
Mm.
So definitely getting perspectives from all these different people from different countries, different languages, different culture, and just trying to make that, like as you said, trying to bring it to the root
Yes.
so that children are more accepting of differences,
Yes.
or accepting of people who don't necessarily share your same household, your
Mm.
same beliefs, but nonetheless, they are still worthy of affection, of love. So I do feel like your book encompasses all of that
Thank
together.
you. I think when Zubi witnesses what happens on the playground between Kennedy and Alex,
Mm-hmm.
the way that she tackles that at the end of the book with her family, and they have an important conversation about the root of where bullying comes from.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's just such a special moment, and I really hope that people resonate with it, because I think it's such an important conversation about compassion, and compassion also to those that are hurting and may hurt others. So,
And speaking quickly in regards to Alex, like, are they gender non-conforming?
yes.
Yes, I noticed. I'm like, yes, representation in all its facets. So that
It
was
was something I really wanted to do, and I'm really happy because Alex is just, I was really just happy that I was able to have Alex in the story, and that Zubi could honor Alex
Mhm.
in that way,
Yeah.
especially how she talks about Alex. So,
yeah, that's amazing. So a little bit about the role your family foster in your idea of self-love. Like, where did that stem from? And was it a learning process for all of you?
yeah, I don't think my mom and my family understood how much I struggled with self love until I started to be very vocal about it publicly.
Mm-hmm.
I think, our culture teaches you to have tough skin when it comes to conversations about your body. Your body is open for anybody to talk about. Family member comes into the house and says, "Oh, you gained weight." You're just supposed to be able to roll with the punches and keep it moving. And that didn't work with me. It impacted my self image. And once I gained a platform and I was able to normalize conversations surrounding self love and body positivity, my mom really got to see like this stuff that is normalized within our culture was harmed my daughter. And while she never outright said it to me in that way, I know that that's something that impacted her, because she started to change how she engaged about body, like about our bodies and my body and other people's bodies. She changed how she interacted with family members about it became something that everyone within my orbit and my immediate family has become so much more sensitive to the sensitivity surrounding conversations about body and weight fluctuation and all that stuff. And it's something I'm really proud of, because it was subtle, it was over time, and I think it's impactful for generations to come within our family.
Yeah. I do feel like also like when someone is like middle-aged, elderly, like these are things they really have to unlearn. And it is a process. It's not going to be an overnight type of thing. Like I can understand someone, like for instance myself, like the Latino community is very machista, like very like misogynistic. I can recall so many conversations with family members where I need to call them out and tell them, hey, that's not right. That's not right. And I'm not expecting them to understand at the moment. Because obviously that's very rare that happens. But just the thought that you have those conversations with your family, because sometimes you need to have hard conversations with your family members. Like that's a way of how you show love. It's like I care about you as my family member, as a friend. And I am willing to test our relationship because I want us to be better people.
Yeah. And you know, that's such an important thing is like establishing boundaries. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
I think it's so important. And I think whether Zubi realized it or not, in the book, she establishes some boundaries at the end of the book and it was subconscious, it was inadvertent, but it happened because when she shared how the words of others hurt her, not to give away too much, that ultimately was establishing X plus Y equals Z, you know?
Yes.
And so these things are now impacting me. And I'm really, you know, proud of her. I couldn't say, you know, growing up, I didn't have the courage to say, you know, when you do this, it makes me feel like this. Or when I watch you put yourself through this or say this about you, it's made me think this about myself. I didn't have that courage growing up. So this book truly is for younger Nabila because it was so much resolution I never had. And so that conversation was truly the dream conversation that I could have with my family.
Definitely, like this younger generation is very inspiring. You're on TikTok, so you know that this generation, they are going to change the world.
The world.
They are going to change the world.
Yeah.
They don't take anything that's not appropriate. It's like, no, this is not okay. Like they record themselves having tough conversation with their parents. So
I know it's so empowering. You know, it's uncomfortable, but I think change does not happen where you are comfortable. And even in this book, she has an uncomfortable conversation to get to a place that is free, you know, where she can be free. And so I hope that encourages some maybe uncomfortable conversations so that you can be your freest, truest self.
Yeah. So it just, in the book, it just opens up her family's realization, like, look, we have to change because our daughter is being affected.
Yeah.
And we love our daughter and we want what's the best for her and we want her to have good self-esteem. So definitely amazing. So in your book, you obviously incorporate Bangladeshi food, language, and culture, which again, you described some food items, and I was like, all right, I need to see where to find this. And you could definitely find it in New York. New York, you could find any type of food.
Find it. You can move tonight and enjoy.
I will be doing some research to see where I can find some Bangladeshi food. But I also appreciated the fact that you included a glossary at the end of the book, because I found myself just, you know, I need to see what this word is. I want to understand the full context of it. But I wanted to ask you, like, what are some Bangladeshi traditions that just excite you, make you smile? And do you get excited seeing people experience it for the first time, these traditions?
Yes. So first, thank you for mentioning the glossary. I'm super proud of it. It was something I really wanted. And I had told, you know, my editor and I told publisher, like, I want a glossary. I want this to be a language learning book as well as a self-love themed book. Yeah. And they were so open and so just enthusiastic about it. So there are Bangla words at the end of the book that are translated. And I think that that's such an amazing learning experience. So I hope that those who have never seen Bangla celebrated can have this moment with me and feel proud together. You know, I never saw my language magnified or in this way. So I'm really excited. But to answer your question about some traditions, you know, in the book, you'll see cricket is playing, like there's a cricket match on the television during dinner time. That's really cute. I really loved that. I really wanted to make sure that there were things that were happening in the book that were subtle and that were that reflected my life experience. So my dad loves cricket, so the cricket match playing and the way that Dadima's wearing her salwar kameez is very similar to how my grandmother would walk around in her salwar kameez or her sari. And but traditions overall, like I think there's a moment where they're also playing Ludo. Yes. And that's a game within our family that is just one that we love so much. And so while they're cooking, while Dadima is cooking with Amma, they're playing Ludo in the living room. And these are things that you just don't see. And it's like equivalent to, Monopoly for the American family. And so just seeing these things celebrated, it was the dream. So yeah, like I love it. Right now. Thank you.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So good. Yeah.
So I also wanted to touch base, like, what was, and you don't have to answer if you don't feel comfortable answering, but what was the immigration process for your parents? Like, what led them to the U.S.? Obviously, it must have been like so many hurdles that they had to overcome just to, provide a better future for their children.
My parents, they immigrated to the U.S. in 1991, and my parents had an arranged marriage. They had technically what's considered a child marriage. My mom was 14 years old at the time, and they had my 3 elder siblings in Bangladesh before immigrating in 91. So I had my 3 older siblings. They immigrated as well, and it was truly for them and myself to have a better future and to have opportunities to live the American dream. I was then born in August of 91 and in New York. So I was born in Queens and
NYC, yeah.
And I, then slowly my parents, they developed their unique skills. So they started off, my dad was he drove taxi, he worked in a factory 3rd shift, he also had another retail job. He did everything, he picked up everything. When he wasn't driving taxi, he was doing this or he was doing that. My mom would sew little ribbons for 10 cents a ribbon. And they were also simultaneously learning English in the United States of America.
In a non-classroom setting.
Yeah, in a non-classroom setting. So truly through living. Mm-hmm. And then they developed their entrepreneurial spirit and they moved to Maryland where they lived there for a little bit. And then finally they opened up their own jewelry store in Pennsylvania. And I learned everything about entrepreneurship and grit and what you do for your dreams through my parents. And what they did for their 6 children is just, to me, the American dream. They wanted the American dream for us, but I think that they embodied the American dream. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. And just before we transition into audience Q&A, I did notice something in the acknowledgement section of your book.
Yeah.
And the last sentence you dedicated to your child, which at the time I imagine you didn't even know you were pregnant.
Yeah.
So, and given the news that you are currently expecting, like, what is that feeling of just having this book launch while at the same time I'm actually expecting? Like, what does that mean to you?
Oh my gosh, it means everything. I really just, when writing the book, when I wrote every single word, I wrote it for my future child. I wrote it for them. I wrote it thinking of them, but they didn't exist at the time. They were just a dream. And this was over 300 days ago, when I was writing the acknowledgements portion. And it was so long ago, and it was such a big, big dream for me to be pregnant when the book comes out.
Oh my God, wow.
That was my thing. I was like, I am going to be pregnant while I'm on my book tour. That was my dream. And, earlier this year when I was pregnant before, and then I had lost our baby, it felt like that dream was gone. And then before I knew it, I became pregnant again, and the dream was right there again in front of me, proof that you should never stop dreaming. But to read that line now, it feels really surreal. I'll read it.
Yes, of course.
So at the end of the book, I have an acknowledgement section that I just send all of my love and my acknowledgments and thanks to everybody that helped make this book possible. So I go through everyone, and then I get to the last line. And it says, "And to my future baby, whenever you're ready, wherever you are, this book would not be possible if I weren't thinking of you through every second and every word. I love you with all of my heart." And at the time I wrote "wherever you are," and baby's in here. So it feels so amazing and just a dream. Like I can't find other words besides. If someone told me right now and I'd be like, "You're dreaming," I'd be like, "That makes sense."
Well, you're not. You're a debut author. You're expecting your rainbow baby, which will bring you so much love and so much joy. And they're going to love this book. And I know that you mentioned that you wanted that role model growing up, and your baby's going to have that. And that is such an amazing feeling. I can't even imagine how you feel right now.
I feel like I'm going to cry.
Oh, no. Well, cry if you want to. This is an open, non-judgment zone. We validate everyone's emotions, from children to adults. So definitely.
It feels surreal. It feels surreal.
So now we have quite a few audience questions. So I think it'd be great to ask you some of them. All right. So this one comes from Sureya, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I know the struggle. Hello, Nabella. My name is Sureya, and I absolutely adore you. You are so beautiful inside and out. I am so happy for the news about your baby, and we are making dua for you. My question is, what drives and inspires you to do things you do? Writing this book and building your platform obviously takes a lot of work. So what inspired you to start, and what keeps you going even when it gets tough? We all need a little boost, right?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Soraya. That's so sweet. I would say what inspired me for so long was my parents and my mother, who sacrificed her entire life for us. She didn't have a childhood, so that's why I created my nonprofit scholarship program for young girls in Bangladesh, was so that they wouldn't have to have child marriages like my mom did, right? So she was always the driving force for me. She's why I created my self-love brand named after her. She's truly been my driving force. What's been unique is, upon having this journey towards motherhood and now having a baby, has been sharing that inspiration, in that my mom and my dad will always inspire me, but now my baby inspires me. And so now I'm inspired by both and want to create a better world, to pay respect to my mom and my dad, but to then also create a beautiful, bright future for my baby. So I would say that that's really what's been my driving force, what helps me get up every morning. For so long it was, I need to make my parents proud and make the sacrifices worth it. And now it's, I need to make my baby proud and make a better world for them.
Yeah, and that's how it is. Generations just inspiring each other.
Yeah.
Going, making the world a better, safer, healthier place.
Yes.
Also, I do know your mother's name. I know it means in Arabic. Can you give us the definition and how it ties to your brand?
Yeah, so Ziba means beautiful. I think it's in Farsi, it means beautiful. But it is so important because Ziba, the brand, is a self-love brand that is really focusing on helping people redefine beauty, just like me. It's all about helping you define beauty for yourself and challenging beauty standards. So naturally, I wanted to help you discover what makes you beautiful. So naturally, to me, it made sense to name it after my mother, who helped me in my journey, and then for her name to mean beautiful as well. It just was so fitting and such a dream. And so whenever we make product with her name on it, I get goosebumps every time, because she was stitching ribbons, stitching clothes with her name.
Just seeing all that progress must be like, wow, like I'm so proud.
It's amazing. It's the dream.
So we have a second question. This doesn't have a name, but it says, what is your favorite thing about creating a book? Also, thank you for being so inspiring. I love all that you do and use your patience and positive encouragement often as possible.
Thank you. think my favorite part about writing a book is comparing the first draft to the final draft. Was my favorite, most unexpectedly favorite part. I mean, obviously building the art with the artist was ridiculously fun and dreamy. But I thought something that was surprising and fun was looking at my final draft and looking at what I had thought I wanted for the book.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
seeing the evolution and seeing how, it took so many drafts for me. I mean, there was no ghostwriter, by the way. I wrote every single word myself. And because I wrote every single word myself, it was so many drafts. And so to see how I finally got to the core message, which stayed the same essentially, but how the delivery changed from draft 1 to the final draft was, I think, a surprisingly fun part, one of my favorite parts.
I guess just as a new author, you should know that sometimes characters do that.
Yeah.
Characters will take you to places you did not expect. So the fact that you listen to them and saw
Yeah.
the evolution of from like the first draft to the final product,
Yeah.
that says you are a true writer. So
Yeah.
congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next question says, I feel like a lot of time we see success tied to beauty, in parentheses, beauty being specifically what society says is beautiful.
Yes.
How do you think we can unlearn this and all the other things as an adult?
Whew. Well, as an adult, I think, yeah, we are taught so much about beauty and a specific formula for that beauty. And I think we don't realize how much profit there is in insecurity. I think once I realized that, it helped me liberate myself from living under the shackles of these unrealistic beauty standards and all this stuff. And so what I mean by that is this: it pays to make you, it pays, or businesses profit off of your insecurity. So you feeling beautiful and comfortable in your own skin does not line anyone's pockets, right? But if you think, oh, I need to buy that concealer, I need to buy this, I need to buy that, I need to go under this diet plan or try that new regimen to be beautiful, your self-worth is constantly under the submission or mercy of all of these other things that you have to either pay for or invest in, or all of these things, so, or subscribe to, or whatever. So when I realized that there's profit in our insecurity, that means that there's freedom in our confidence. And so I would encourage anybody watching to realize that you are going to be fed messages to make you feel unbeautiful, because that is how companies will continue to thrive. Find companies that make you feel beautiful as you are, support them, and also understand that you have the individual power in this moment to say enough is enough. I'm not going to reserve my happiness for a later date or a later weight. I'm not going to reserve my confidence for a later date and a later weight, and I'm going to choose me today. And that's what changed my life. So I hope it helps you.
I do feel like oftentimes people feel so alone and they don't have the resources or just the community to help them empower themselves.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, when you started posting your content, you saw how it resonated with so many people.
Yes.
And I feel like it also helped you grow, and it also helped you see it's like, look, I'm not alone. There are so many people who share my values, and this is the type of people that I want to inspire, that I want to, just reach out to, or just like, hey, I want to buy your product because you and I, we see eye to eye.
Yes.
And I appreciate that.
Yes.
So definitely surround yourself, even though if it's through virtual or physical setting, surround yourself with people who share your values.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And put your dollar where those values are meant to.
Because trust me, when companies see those dollars going somewhere else, they will adapt. They will adapt.
Yes.
That is unfortunately capitalism, how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen that, I feel, in the last year or so. Companies adapting to.
Because people are more vocal. People are more vocal, and they're no longer being silenced by
Yes.
corporations.
Yes, I agree.
So our next question is from Laura. She says, "You are my absolutely favorite person online. Congratulations to you and Steph on your family. I wish you nothing but the best during your pregnancy and as new parents. I think your online presence is so refreshing and wholesome, and your words have really helped me through so many moments in my life. My question for you is, what are some self-love aspects you hope your child learns and knows about themselves?"
Well, first of all, thank you for all the generous, gracious compliments. I really appreciate it. I hope that our child, learns the individual power they have on their self-confidence, their self-esteem, their happiness, their self-image. And I hope that they realize, and I hope that I can empower them to not let it be fluctuating by outside influences. So, and I say that because someone telling you look beautiful, that's great. That's great. But I don't want that to be what impacts their own self-image. Them knowing that they're beautiful, teaching them and empowering them with compliments that are focused on what intrinsic qualities they have, and empowering those things. I really just want our kid to feel like they are capable, and that they are loved, and that they are supported, and that they are enough. And I think oftentimes parents, especially in our culture, they kind of raise you with this opposite strategy where it's like you're not really doing enough. So constantly kind of thinking like, oh, well, why didn't you get an A plus? Or, you bring home like a 89. And it's like, why didn't you get a 99? And it's like all those things, or where was the extra 1%, or whatever the case may be. So, we kind of grew up, especially in South Asian culture, in this lack mentality where it's like, you're never really enough. I want to raise a kid who doesn't have to deal with that, and that feels like whatever their best is so enough, and they don't have to prove themselves to anybody, and that they're accepted, and that they're free. If our child could live free, that would be amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think like maybe don't be afraid of failure. Like,
yeah, that's such a good one.
Failure is all right. Like it will happen. Like
I think failure is necessary for growth.
Yeah.
And I want our child and children in general, not just our own, to be empowered through the failure, inspired to try again.
Yeah.
I like that one. Yeah, definitely.
That builds character, definitely.
Absolutely.
Our next question is from Rubia, and they're asking, will there be any more Zoobee books?
Well, let's spread the word. Let's get people to buy. Because I think what people don't understand is, we as consumers dictate what is created. So this is, a rare book about a Bangladeshi family. All right. So if we want to see more books of Zubi and more like hers, then we need to put our money where our mouth is. We need to put our investment into what we want to see more of. And so, of course, I would love for there to be more in the Beautifully Me series. I'd love for it to become a series. I'd love for Zubi to uncover so much more and be a character that girls and boys can grow up with and feel like an iconic character in their childhood. And for that to happen, we have to put our support behind this book and books like it. Not just this book, but books that embody what we wish we'd see more of. Well, we got to show the book industry that we want it.
Yeah, definitely. And I do feel there's so much potential, like with the character of Alex or Zubi's friend Karima. Like there's so many storylines potentials there. So definitely.
I mean, just so many people that you could spin off with too. So it's fun.
Our next question comes from Miriam, and she asks, hello, Nabella. My name is Miriam, and you are one of my favorite content creators. What do you consider important aspects that are necessary to empower others to love themselves?
Important aspects that are necessary to empower others to love themselves. I think if you want to empower others to love themselves first, and I hope that this book is a testament to that, you got to love yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Self-love empowers others to love themselves. Don't pour from an empty cup. You have to fill your cup so that you can spill it over onto others. And so the best thing you can do, even for your children, is to be an example of confidence, of joy, of a high self-esteem, a good self-image. And when people see that, they want to be more like that. And then also talking to yourself as you would your best friend, and encouraging it and holding your best friend accountable too, in that, like, the people that you love, you want to hold them accountable in the sense where when you see them having negative self-talk, call them in. I think that this book is a testament to the importance of our words about ourselves and how they impact others.
Awesome. And I think we have time for one final question.
Okay.
And this person was just curious, is a portion of Ziva's proceeds go towards Noor House Scholarship Program. Can you talk a little bit more about Noor House inception and the work this program does?
Yes. So in 2019, my husband Seth and I visited a school in Bangladesh during our trip, and we visited what was called, and still is called, Jago Foundation. And Jago does incredible work, and they are globally accredited. They are extremely credible, and we just knew that what they were doing was so vital in Bangladesh, specifically in communities that are really, really poverty stricken. So Seth and I fell in love with the school. We fell in love with what they're doing, how they basically provide free education and resources to children through monthly donations. And so Seth and I took a pledge. We went there, we fell in love, we chatted with them, and we said, we want to take on 20 students, but we don't want to just take them on and then there be question about whether or not they'll stay on or not. Mm-hmm. We want to take on 20 students. We chose about ages 5 to 7, and we want to provide them with free education until they graduate.
Wow.
Now, if you think about that, that is assurance for their families that their daughters, because we chose girls, because we wanted to do a scholarship program for girls, their daughters will be provided for when it comes to their education from the ages of 5 to 7 until, around 16, 17, 18, graduate. So that is a vast range of years, and that is the assurance that those families have that can help break the cycle of poverty for their children and for their families. Because oftentimes in these poverty-stricken families, these children have to join the workforce too early and join in child labor or have child marriages. And so by us saying, no, these girls, these 20 girls, there are Noor House girls, and they are going to be taken care of. It helps give that assurance to those families, and we hope to add more children into our program. But we started off with our 20 Noor House girls. Noor, by the way, is my last name. It means light, so we wanted this program to serve as a lighthouse for these children. So I hope that gives you some answers. And then a portion of proceeds from every purchase at Ziva also goes directly to Jago Foundation, which houses Noor House. So it goes directly to Jago, and that's been an amazing experience too.
Oh, Nabella, thank you so much for joining us for your book launch.
Thank you.
What a lovely conversation. Definitely reading through it, like I mentioned before, I saw inspiration with it. And I'm sure our audience members, once they receive their book, they're also going to relate to it, not just because of their children, but also on a personal level. So thank you so much for joining us. To our audience members, thank you for joining us tonight. If you like to make extra purchases of Nabella's Beautifully Me, it does come with a signed book plate. You could do so by clicking on the green link below your screen. But again, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thank you for coming and having this intimate moment with me. And thank you, Abby, for just being awesome. So I really
Of course. I'm looking forward to the next book. So I'm ready.
So. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.